or marry another woman which is similar to your situation. The same thing. So the Yehuda say Tamer, hide the fact, and the Rabbi said Gali, go to another city. It's the same thing. Either, what's the difference? One said the Tamer, hide the fact, the other one said go Gali, go to Golos, no one's gonna know. Anyway, it's a fascinating thing in the Gemara where you see here a proof about how you can handle sometimes shidduchim when you're trying to make a shidduch happen.
One says go, and or somebody like you, and the other one says hide it.
I wouldn't say it. I'd like it not to be marked the machloket.
He said it in a different language.
Yeah,
but the same idea.
The same idea. Yeah. Zog the Gemara. Oh, very good. Thank you so much, Molly. Okay. We're gonna get into that on ban. This is so. Zog the last line of the Gemara.
No, it's not a line.
Shmuley, could you check what it's playing old stuff or it's recording now? Zog the Gemara v'hilchas. Then there's a little bit of a hemshech in Gemara about this whole thing, and the Gemara says that if the mother is Jewish, I don't care if the father is a goy, even if she was an Eishes Ish, which is a big chiddush. That is, she's a married woman, and she,
it's live. Just a little delay.
Could you make this really small? I have to see the whole thing. Okay. Anyway, bottom line, it's a big chiddush, and we said the Gemara says why, because that even though she's a married woman, and if she'd sleep with a yid and have a baby, the baby would be a mamzer. But if she sleeps with a goy, the baby's kosher. Why? Because the Gemara says elsewhere that the Chazal, that the Torah was mafkir zarek, that the Torah kilo made that his avid is hefker. It's tam an avid without a person, and the zed is tam a zed without a person, and that's the guy. So yeah, it's an artificial insemination. Again, so therefore the child. So even though if she's mutter, the husband's another issue.
Depends.
But the child, depends. But the child is kosher. The child is kosher. Okay. So now there's a machloikis between three Rishonim. The Rosh said, thank you so much. The Rosh said, by the way, I just Shmuley just set up that we should be mamshech. Girl set up that since we started with COVID that we have on Zoom. So now we're gonna Mitzvah have it that the stuff should be live on the YouTube, and it'll be on the channel, Mitzvah based on the channel, and also Mitzvah will record it and we'll put it in a
archive.
Podcast. And then in Mitzvah it'll all go into the website. Yeah, Mitzvah. Okay. Anyway. Bottom line is that we have three Rishonim on this. What's the bottom line? The Rosh says, look, if the father is a goy, the Gemara says a kal v'chomer, and a kal v'chomer is a din d'oraisa. So when a Torah, she's not allowed to marry a kohen. The Rambam says, the Gemara says that the Rambam says it's mutter. The Rishonim say why? Because the Gemara at the end, the Gemara when it says hilchasa, she said avlat kosher. And the Gemara didn't say there's a problem for here, for that. Kosher. Kosher means kosher. So the Rosh says that if her father is a goy, minat Torah, she's not allowed to marry a kohen. The Rambam says, minat 100% she's allowed to marry. 100%.
Kohen?
Yeah, 100%. And the Rif says, I'm not sure. That's what he says. It's unusual that Rif should say. The Rif says a suffix. It's a suffix. So the three heavy hitters, the Rambam, the Rif, and the Rosh, one says 100% asur, one says 100% mutter, and one says I'm confused. I'm not sure.
So we're all talking about marrying a kohen.
To marry a kohen. Now, Yes. So
So
marry.
there's no definition between them.
So let's read the Ramban.
You go according to two of them.
Right.
But here there's no
Here
definition.
you're
So who
stuck.
decides that? The people
Okay.
after?
So now let's see. The Ramban says like this. There's two major. Later afterwards, there's two major meforshim that all the boys can go back on. One is the Rishon and one is the Achron. The Ramban and the Yam Shel Shloim the Mashal. The Ramban says, "Nirali the kivin the gomer kal v'chem malmona yesh lo doiris of zapogam bimbo ala kehenes valabi v'selis bitoy psulul kula kebas cholol zocher." Ramban argues in Rashi. He says that if this woman slept with a goy, I don't care if she has a son or a daughter, it'll become a problem for kahuna. How is it going to be a problem for kahuna? If she has a son, the son's daughter will be possible kahuna. Not like Rashi. And then he says, boy, but wait a minute. You see the way he says that Rava said Itamer Oigali. Hey, he didn't think that that hates it, this hates it. Itamer Oigali. So he says, Nofik Menei Churbe, Gali Venase, Vehem Achzikin Oisa B'Yisrael, Vasikoin Laminsav Brate. He says, I don't understand. Based on his pshat arguing an Ashi, he says, if a woman slept with a guy, so not only the daughter can't marry a kohen, but if she had a son, the son's daughter can't marry a kohen. So Rav later said, they asked the guy came to him. He said, "My mother is Jewish. The father's a guy. What should I do?" To go to another city, hide your identity, make a good shidduch. What? And then he's gonna have a daughter and marry a kohen, and it's all on the back of Rava. How could you do something?
That exactly means that it's a mutter.
Because then is a mutter. Vim time a kohen lo yisach. Not true. Any boydik el arboimos. V'zayim oisav ksheirav. Divacham any boydik klalim. Ki korov yirin. Shem dikro yirin. Ad kiven dem etame. Void hechi of lietz litame. Af ne v'churbe lach arba doides. So therefore, Mistaber that saw the Shmaita Hochi. Dam Rabbi Yosef, Rebutz v'lamach shvegar v'lam hamzer. Rabbon amach she'elam Rabbi Yosef. B'derab dimi the poslei letana. The Heiner Rebbe Pogim La Moiri, Akil Bishop the Machsher Marshal Pogim. Nay, I've Kulamero, the Machsher Pogminois. He'll Pogim. He's going through the whole sugi again. He says the Shaila was with the baby when the mother is Jewish and the father's a goy. That originally the Gemara said that Rabbi Yosef said, look, some holds a mams, and even those that holds kosher, at least it's Pogim La Kuhuna. V'amar Le Abaya, Smoicha de Rav. The Rebbe Gufa Moireba Lateda. That why are you relying on Rebbe Dimi? Look at Ravin. The Rebbe Gufa was one of those that is het. Vateda Lagamri Kama. Afila Lakun. Vafarav Moireba Lateda. Mishum de Kamar Lay. Havli Barata Beshosik. Why didn't he tell him, look, I don't want to have Einiklach that are Psulam Lakuhuna? Why couldn't the Rav say, the guy said, my mother is Jewish, my father is a goy? There's the story is back and forth until the guy gets so obnoxious and then he dies. Why couldn't he tell him, listen, Bocher? He said, you're a fine Bocher. You're a very good Bocher. Your children are kosher to eat. But look, if you're gonna marry my daughter, my Einiklach can never marry Kohanim. I don't want that. Isn't that a nice get out of it? Why did he say that? Obviously he didn't think that's true, that they are allowed to marry Kohanim. The so really at the end of the sugi, there's a brilliant raya based on the way that Ramban is learning the Gemara. The end of the Gemara is a raya Gemara that the other Tanoim v'Amayroim held that not only is this girl is the baby this girl kosher to marry Yisrael, is marry a Kohen. Again, why this guy comes to Rav and he says, my kosher Jew, is you kosher? I want to marry your daughter. Rav should say, what do you mean you can marry my daughter? My Einiklach can't marry Kohenim. And he didn't say that. As a raya that he held, it's kosher.
That's why the guy can continue.
That's why he can ask him.
Because if we told him you can't, so he wouldn't.
He wouldn't stand. The Fize, even the Paskin and Hilchas said Avlat kosher. Nafukim in mamzer. V'loy paskin and pogim v'loy kashel kuna. Adav a suffix. He could be sure ben he could be udrava. Is that time sure ben agodol? The masveikim mishun the basroi. The paskil chesed created the mamzer v'loy the kuna. Because it's really it's a machlokes between the big Tanoim and Amoraim. And even though later the Gemara paskin that this child, that the father is not a mamzer, but legabe, if it's pogam lekahuna, we have a machlokes. Rav, a whole bunch of Rabbi Yehuda, the way Rabbi Yosef read. So you have a list of Tanoim Amoraim that said one way, and a list of Tanoim Amoraim that said the other way. So that's why the Rif said, I don't know what to tell you. Now the Yamsha Shlema learns it differently. I just read it quickly. Lula de Mastapina Mechavede Yisif Afarish Dika Kal V'Chem En El Asmachta B'Alma. He says this whole Kal V'Chem is not a real Kal V'Chem. He says many reasons why it's not a real Kal V'Chem. One of the reasons is because Almona marries a Kohen Gadol, her son and her daughter become Niskala. And if we learn like Rashi, that the father is a guy, only the daughter is Niskal. It's not a real Kal V'Chem. A Kal V'Chem has to work. It works or it doesn't work. No, the girl. Yeah. Well, so it's not so clear. What's going to? He doesn't know. There's some would not be a problem. So yeah. So he says it's not a real Kal V'Chem. But if you don't like the Ramon, it's a real Kal V'Chem. Yeah, according to Rashi, it's not. He doesn't say it, but it's obviously he's on. And then so it's not a real Kal V'Chem. He does another raya also from Atois. It's not a real Kal V'Chem. It's all at the smach about. Well, maskona lesbi yisuda. Why? He says listen to svara. I feel him mitzad mamzer at the machshir metayim derachman afkere lazare Kal V'Chemer b'yisapekim meshein ela lakuna shat machshir lazare. He says I don't understand. At the end, the Gemara there were those that held that the father is a goy, the child is a mamzer. Now we decided to say, if the father is a guy, the child is kosher. Even though the mother is an Ashes Ish, the mother is an Ashes Ish. If she married, if she's married and she sleeps with another man, the baby is a mamzer, and that's no one argues with that. That's takadalocha. That's the way we pass it. And now, if the guy slept with an Ashes Ish, the child is totally kosher because Rachmon Afker Elazare. So why, if the zara is hefker? Is hefke de kazara, and the Gemara at the end says hilchasa that avlad kosher beimipnei beimishisish. So why would you think that in the maskana of the Gemara there was still a thought to think that there's psula paguma lekahuna? It's a afker elazare. It's a very strong tiny. Yes.
It sounds a little bit that the psul is not a real psul. That them is a mutter. Just that a father like Rav and a regular father is not going to want to go for that sugar. That's the gilgul. Not a real gilgul. It's almost
What? Right.
The question is why included in the Gemara.
The Ramban is saying if Rav, if it was true that there was a problem, he would have said, "Look, I don't want you marrying my daughter. My eneklach will be possible kona." Is that right?
Because people don't like it. That's why they eat etmin and.
I'm saying the Ramban is bringing a raya that there was a Tanoim Amorim that held 100% mut. But what the Yamsha Shlem is saying is that one step further, saying why is he saying a step further? It's much easier to come to the Ramban's to the Yamsha Shlem's conclusion if you start with the Rabbanon. If you say the Psula Kahuna is a Deiraisa, so you don't something with the Deiraisis, it's hard to go logic. If after the Abisha said it's a cause of special thing Kedushas Kuna, but if you tell me that this whole idea that the father is a goy is exerted derabbanan, and then you're telling me a woman slept with a goy in her marriage, and the after the lazada and the baby is kosher, and can't marry a kohen, it like if it's the issa derabbanan, this thing doesn't make sense. The Rabbanan would never say things that don't make sense. So therefore, his bottom line is that it should be kosher. Turn the page. He says, Elamai chalilali lahate lechatchila sheyotza adova besafek piarif. Because the rif had a suffix. I have a title on. Stay for a few more minutes. We're talking about another inyan for shayla for kohenim. Yeah. So the bottom line is that he asks him the Ramban. He said the Ramban said that it's a suffix but you don't make them divorce. So if it's a suffix deraisa, why wouldn't you make them divorce? So Pischei Tshuva has a brilliant answer. He says why? Because it's a suffix get musa. How could you force him? Obviously, yes, divorce from the Ramban. Well, you can't force him because then it's a get musa. It's not a kosher to get. It's a suffix. A brilliant answer. Anyway, Shulchan Aruch Even Ezer. Yeah. So Even Ezer says, "Kusi ve'eved abba bas Yisrael v'yolad men bas ois bas peguma lekona." Chelkes Mechoike said, "Maloshem peguma mashmed lachatchila loitinosa aval chalola mamish lo yab." Ayin b'mashal semin yudches. Beishmuel says the same thing. Ken kosa b'mashal. Why am I quoting this? Why is it so important to me? That the main two poskim to us Ashkenazim on the Even Ezer is the Chelkes Mechoike Beishmuel, and they thought that the Halacha in Shulchan Aruch is coming out of the Mashal, not the Ramban. Basically, it's a Issa D'Rabbanan. Now we know the golden rule that Issa D'Rabbanan, whenever you have a suffix, you go L'Kula. So if in this case, so it's L'Kula. In this case, the father claims he came from Azerbaijan 30 years ago. He puts tefillin in Kashta's kitchen. He sent his daughter to Yeshiva. He put his money where his mouth is, and so he can be making. And from and whatever, he goes to Chabad house. I spoke to the shliach. So the Mesadik Kedushin is Sephardi. Says no, that's not good enough for me. I can't be. So no, but he wasn't the guy. He wasn't the guy. He was, and he had.
Can they have a Mesadik Kedushin Ashkenaz?
So the poet was Sephardi. So I told him I found that there was, when I did the search on this, that there's 3 tshuvas from Rabbi Vad Yosef. He taka holds it's a deraisa, but I don't. But the poet he thinks that it's a deraisa, but not the way I'm learning it. But he says it. But so some think it's mutter. And there was a shayla a little different by Rabbi Vad Yosef that the father went through a conversion, but through it's conservative. But maybe it was not conservative. The rabbi was conservative. Nish conservative, nish geschmack. So he said it's a svek. It can be made. Now, even though the Rabbi Vad Yosef was never ever with paskin against the machaber, but they said it's a svek, so you could be made. So anyway,
why they brought Kuti here? I mean, Eved. Kuti and Eved.
Because they're both equal. They're both equally bad.
It's Eved Goy.
Eved Goy, yeah. Huh?
They need a problem, but it's not.
Yeah, it's a different type of beginning. It's a different thing. We'll put it on pause. Yeah, pause that for a minute. One second. Put that on pause. I have to. Mamish, I'm worried to give. The Yadas Dvash says, and the Pischei Tshuva asks a question in it. He has. This is a drush that he said. Tov Kuv Zayin in Metz, in the city of Metz, in Germany. He said, as usual, if you sat for a drush of the Berens Neifshitz, I mean, you got to sit down. This is not a sermon, a 15-minute sermon. As if for those drushes probably took 4 or 5 hours to say. He said that, a few shilas. How is it that Achashverosh hated the Jews? He hated the Jews. When Haman came, and then all of a sudden he switched on a dime. He loves the Jews, and they go kill all the enemies. What happened? How does Hitler on a dime change? And all of a sudden, from being a Hitler, he becomes a Churchill. So that's and what happened? And a few more questions he has. Unbelievable thing. He has a pshat of kafta v'ferach. He says he brings from different svarim that in the olden days, all the kings, when they would always inquire by the hoivrei shamayim, who's going to be the next king? They told him your next king is going to be a Jew. But we know the next king is a Jew. He started to hate the Jews. He hated the Jews. The Jews are taking over his kingdom. He couldn't stop. He couldn't stop. Think about it. The Jews are taking over his kingdom. So when Haman, first of all, that's why would he take Haman who was on Maliki and make him so big? Because he was a shtikla alam. and he knew that when a Moloch is strong, the Beis Hamikdash could never be rebuilt. And when a Moloch is strong, the Jews are weak. So therefore, he wanted Haman, which is a Maliki, to become very strong. This whole story gets, you could see already with this kernel at all. And then he had a bad dream. So he said, you know what, maybe we should take a Jew, put him on a crown and everything. And maybe what the Chozek Kechavim saw will already, that'll already be Mekayim. He tried whatever he could. He was going crazy. He's going crazy. Then he finds out his wife is Jewish. So his son is dying. I hated the Jews for no reason. Go kill all the people. Kill Haman. Kill all of it. I didn't realize the whole thing. This is a brilliant shot. Come on, this is a brilliant shot. Go kill him again. He was worried.
Now he has to kill him because if not, his son is going to be in trouble.
Exactly. The Malaikim don't like. So that turns around the whole thing. But B'toich Dvarim, he says, even though his son is a mamzer, he's a Jew. He's a mamzer, but he's a Jew. So the Pesach Tshuva asks, what do you mean he's a mamzer Jew? Maskon the Gemara is he's not a mamzer. He's kosher. How could the Rebbe Snipeshitz have made such a mistake? Tzorich God. I'll tell you the answer. Sometimes a cute answer could be, and I think it's true too.
What about church fairs?
Huh?
What about church fairs and non-fairs?
Exactly. So why would it be honest and throw it in? So I'll tell you the shot. If you read the whole drush, it's a very long drush. He says that unfortunately today the Vaisarva Bagoyim V'Yilmud Masayim, Yidden are starting to cut their beards. Terrible thing. And the women are not dressing tznius. And they're cutting their payas. This is in Germany. It's in Germany. Yeah, long ago. And the women are learning from the Goyish women. Tov Kuf Zayin. So, yeah, shkoyach. And learning how to not to dress knees all the years, 1700 years of dress knees. Try looking at the German goyim, and they're trying to dress not, and they're mixed and so if the Renaissance is standing here and there's men and women, it's a packed Mets, big shoes, 500 men, 500 women there, and he's trying to tell them that so he's going to say, oh, hold on, listen, but if you sleep even out of the marriage with a good child, well, not a good thing. You're not going to go after Yonah for that. How good is that push? He's trying to say now a drush it's not just giving a sermon and quoting things from the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal. He's saying Chidushei Torah, which are interesting. And Moshe Dibra Agod and Moshe Chenes Alev, but Agav he had this brilliant. So if he's going to say, you got to mix with the goyim and dress not so tznius and the mixing with the goyish, don't worry about it. Even out of wedlock, those children will be kosher. You think if Beis just wants to say that? It's true that our opinion is the Gemara. The child is Mazar. And if Achashverosh understood it this way or that, maybe. This is Kechillik. Maybe Achashverosh followed that opinion. No, the Beis Hamikdash should pass against Shulchan. No, because the Beis Hamikdash would never pass against the Shulchan Aruch. I'm sorry. So the answer is that if Beis Hamikdash, I think, didn't want to say. What's negate? It's a shit in the Gemara. Did he lie? Is it not a shit in the Gemara? There is a shit to that way in Gemara. We don't pass him that way. So he's made a point. Gandik. He wanted to just throw in that little point that because he wouldn't want to make it, and he's standing in the city of Metz, and known to all the Jewish people who are not so big that he doesn't want them to know that if they're going to sleep out of wedlock with a boy, that the child, there'll be no repercussions.
Right. But the dangerous that people actually think that they're mamzerim when they're not.
When the problem arises, they'll come to they'll not. They're not gonna. I think he just wanted to throw in that women. They shouldn't think they shouldn't just that practice that we should learn a lesson from this.
Rabbi, it said so he said in the way he will not be in Apple. Yeah, he can.
Yeah, he said it. He threw it in a very nice way.
Very nice.
Right. The emphasis to show to say that the Rebbeinu Shalom Paskin against the way it's not. It says chesed. The Gemara, you can't pass against the Gemara. It's hilchas that Eved v'goy Shabbat Bas Yisrael im pnui beinish is a black kosher. Gemara paskin the way. All the Rishonim say the way. You can't pass against that. And we spoke yesterday that this yichus is the one that said even a sefer that printed, even a sefer that's printed hundreds of years later, and all the Eden accepted, it's called a Dvar Mishnah. I think is my pshat is Balabatish pshat, that it just takes away all cash against the business match. There's another some this week about a coin. You can have a concession in a lobby hospital. But there's a coin that I'll keep maybe the shadow for next week because it's again like a 2 coins. Neshamas is mahal. You could fly in avodas Hashem. A few seconds. I'm not going to go through the mind, but there's an idea. But because the malachim are very limited, the highest malach is coming from olam haba and the neshama. Besides a few neshamas like Moshe Rabbeinu, the neshamas also come from Bria, Tzira, Siyah. What's the difference? So the Rebbe says there is no difference. There is no difference. Interesting. I've never heard this hazard before. No, nothing like that. Not that hazard. That when the Shema comes down in the world, it's a pella, like the Ramos says, a mafli lasses, that it's a pella that neshama, which is a chelik alakash, come into a goof. That Ramos says that's a pshat mafli lasses. It's a pella. Only the Eibush himself could do this, could make that a neshama, which is tahoida, should go into a goof. Neshama, a Yiddish neshama should come into a goof. It's mafli lasses. It's a pella. Only the Eibush himself could do it. So because it's the chibush ne'afochim and it's the koyach ain't sof, only the Eibush himself could do it. So that gives a yid the koyach. The b'shas, the neshama is in the goof. He should become a mahalach and avodas Hashem. Enochinami. When the neshama is in Gan Eden, there might not be such a difference between neshama and malach. Again, other places, I'm just telling you what it's in this mind. But when the neshama comes in this body, it's the koyach mafli lasses, the koyach ain't sof to machaber afochim. So therefore, the neshama gets the chance to become a mahalach. It's unbelievable to think about this. Now, when neshama is here, we could become a mahalach and avodas Hashem. And then everyone wants to give an example. So he says that there could be a marriage of a man and a woman, but because there isn't a neshama of a zachar and a keva, or interesting thing, stam, it's a moshel, that there isn't shalom bayis, and therefore they don't have children. And the eitzah is that there's an eitzah. There's an eitzah. There's an eitzah is that sometimes there's a schus gadol, and all of a sudden the husband gets in him the ibur of a neshama of a zoch. And then they also have shalom bayis, and they have achtus, and then they'll have children. That's the eitzah.
What's about her getting a neshama of
I guess the same thing could be the other way. I don't know.
Two male neshamas. There's a man and a woman, but the man and woman could really be two male neshamas or two female neshamas.
It seems. I have to look. So the eitzah is it's connected exactly. If it's good, it's an eitzah. If it's not good, it's connected. It's the same thing. So he says that and the same thing with the Yiddish neshama beguf. That it says ishteke gufedam. Why is ishteke gufedam? Because the neshama and the guf is like a husband and wife. And if you remember, the war mekubal when we went through the sugya that said that's pshat so the neshama and the guf is like a husband and wife. The neshama and guf is like husband and wife. And in order for it to come together, it's a chibur of beis afochim, and you need to have the koyach of ein soif, and then when it's done the right way, he does avodas Hashem, so then he becomes a mahalach. That this man can catch up to the Hashem of a yid because he gets that koyach in order to make two opposites. If they're not two opposites, you don't need koyach ein soif. The only way is if you have two neshamas, one is a zoch and a keva, which are two opposites. In order to make them click, you need a koyach ein soif, and that's what makes a yid a mahalach and avodas Hashem. In the meantime, he gives us an example where sometimes there's a lacking of koyach ein soif because it's two of the same gender neshama. So and the schus gadol that they need for ibur of a new neshama. Anyway, so we see that it ever brings it down, and a maimah connected nach teshvuos, no least. So the answer to the question, the person that his wife is threatening him, that it's true, the threat is a true threat. There shall help him that all of us, the threats, he should be scared. He should be scared, but what he should be scared of is different things. He should be scared that we don't have time for new gilgulim, because Mashiach has to come. We all have to do our avodas Hashem b'shleimus. And we should be taka, we should be masah, we should be mahalchim,